As a supermodel, actress, and health expert, I've traveled the world, and I have learned that no two people share the same story. My name's Carol Alt, and in my living room, you'll hear the stories that have shaped some of the most successful people in their industries. Welcome to Carol Alt's Living Room. Most people will probably ask me, why is he on a fashion show? But he probably has the most incredible fashion eye I've ever seen. His design of his house and his home and the way he picked my clothes only complemented the most incredible finesse of any hockey player I have seen, and he's already rolling his eyes at me. Anyway, the great Alexei Yashin from the New York Islanders and the Ottawa Senators, SKA, CSKA, and Dynamo Moscow is here with me today on Carol's Living Room. I think one of the things I've always been amazed at with you is that you had this eye that could see the most beauty in things that looked crumpled and folded, and you could pick out the beautiful things. Just, I don't know, it was just an innate thing with you. So I just thought, you know what, you're a bit eclectic for this program, but I would really like to just talk about you, your career. You're a maverick, and that just appealed to me. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go back, if you will, to your life in Russia. You were born in communist Russia.
First of all, what I want to say, we've been to so many fashion shows together. And,
right, you have.
So I had a lot of stuff I saw in Versace and Roberto Cavalli and this beautiful show. I still don't believe it because I had opportunity to work with you on
yeah. So
it
an
didn't
opportunity
really carpet.
lost.
I don't know how to say proper it, but it was a Cavalli show in Vienna, when it's like and all the girls saying like, "Come on, come with us," and I just didn't do it because I thought it's like I was so shy, and now I have regrets for that because I should do it. And it was
Well,
beautiful.
actually, I want to talk to you about that, and I'm going to be candid with you. I'm going to put you on the spot because the only person in the world who can put you on the spot is me. I'd like to be candid with you about many things in your career, but I want to start at the top and move forward. So let's start with your parents. You were born in communist Russia.
So I was born in a city called Sverdlovsk at the time. Now it's Yekaterinburg. It's a big industrial city on Ural Mountains. It's on the border of between Europe and Asia. So it's what I said. It's been big industrial city, like 1.5 million people live there, and now it's even bigger. So if you talk about my mom and dad, they both been professional athletes. But back like 40 years ago, you can't really be a professional athlete. So you
can't make a living at it.
Right. So you had a different job and then a kind of free time to play professional, or you been part of some job, national team. But what I'm saying is like your job was at like electric engineer or but in a time of you supposed to work, you actually played sport. So it's really been kind of in between. You pretend like you're not a professional athlete, but you've been doing
This is very complicated.
It's very complicated.
How you lived life in such
It's been
complex
complicated, but
ideas.
again, and like when my parents played sport, and it's not really was a name for professional athlete. So they've been working as my dad was a professor of science, and my mom was electric engineer. So
right, and then your mom was on the national team as a volleyball player, and your dad was a goalie for handball. Which, by the way, handball in America is two people with a wall, and you hit the ball, and it bounces once, hits the wall, comes back, the next person hits it. I had never seen handball. It's really kind of a mix between soccer, lacrosse.
No, it's a different game. It's actually what it is. It's called European handball, where you have a net, and it's some like 6-meter line which you can only shoot outside, and so it looks like a kind of basketball, but instead of like basket, you have a net. Okay. And my dad was a goalie, so he was.
You know what we say about goalies, don't you? Right. You have to remove half your brain to be a goalie.
Yes.
That's an old hockey joke.
So about my mom, she didn't really play for national team, but what happened was it's a very famous team from Russia. women's volleyball, which achieved a lot in the history of Russian
Right, you didn't
volleyball.
call it national team, actually.
Right. So my mom was starting up with this team, and the very famous coach, his name is Nikolai Karpol. He won Olympic gold with several attempts with the Soviet Union team, and I think with the Russian team. So again, it's been very popular, very famous, and I kind of grew up in a sport environment with my mom and dad.
Actually, your mom took you to the volleyball court with her when she had to go. But at the time, actually, you were living with your mom and dad with your grandmother because you were on a waiting list to get an apartment. It took 10 years to get a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, I tell you actually what the story was. First of all, my mom was, when I was born and I was little, she moved from my hometown to a city called Chelyabinsk. It's a very famous hockey team there. It's
Right.
a lot of very, very famous hockey players came from Chelyabinsk, and she played there when I was born. And when I was little, so she, like during the training camp, she would tie me to the tree,
Tied
so
you
make
to the
sure,
net.
make sure I wouldn't
Wouldn't run
escape
away.
and I wouldn't run away when she has to practice to prepare herself to the season. But
In actuality, the coach was upset your mom got pregnant with you.
in some case, yes, because you can't really rely on the girls who got pregnant, I guess, especially in a young age, because it's in Soviet Union and in Russia, it's a preparation period, and usually it's like 4 years. Olympic Games, it's a big deal, so every Olympic cycle, it's a 4 years. So they want to make sure the girl stays the whole cycle.
Right, without being pregnant
to be part of
and
the team.
being
So
able to
I don't want to
practice.
really get into it because I wouldn't be exist
wouldn't
if
be
it
here.
wouldn't happen.
You wouldn't be
right?
here.
So I was very happy with my mom.
Well, and you
made
would have
this
been here if she
decision.
made other decisions that
right,
they wanted
but,
her to make.
But in the same time, it's what's sometimes it's kind of other side of a professional sport, because when you
It's kind of a bit ruthless.
It's any sport, yeah. You see like a lot of glamour, a lot of
Yeah, but
like
behind the scenes-
money. You know, athletes making a lot of money. They're very famous. They're popular. They do a lot of stuff, but sometimes you don't see the other part where they have to work very hard to be
Or
where
make
they are.
decisions between life and death sometimes, especially if
that's
you're a
true.
woman. So you finally, after 10 years, you get this apartment. You have your little brother. Your mom sends you to the store, and you have basically coupons to buy milk with.
Yeah,
How
well,
did the
right, so what-
Russian communist system work?
I explained to you what happened actually with that, because in Russia, in Soviet Union before, you can get like government would give you apartment to live into.
Right, but you had to
And
wait 10 years to
you
get
have
it.
to wait, and so my mom and dad, they both been working toward that to get their own apartment. And finally, my mom went to Chelyabinsk, that's what I said. So she got a 2-bedroom apartment in Chelyabinsk. But my dad was, he was in Moscow, studied to become a professor of science. So he wasn't with us, so it was me, my mom, and my grandmother. Actually, not grandmother, grandmother. She came with us and stayed and helped my mom to raise me. And so eventually we had the opportunity, because all our relatives lived in Sverdlovsk. So we had the opportunity to exchange apartments from Chelyabinsk to
Oh, so it was an
Yekaterinburg.
exchange that took
Right.
so long.
So we got, I think it's still 2-bedroom apartment. Actually, 2-bedroom. I say it's two rooms
Two-room
apartments.
apartment.
It's not like 2 bedrooms, which is considered 3.
Right, so you lived there with your mom, dad, and your brother as well. So there were 4 of you ultimately in a 2-room apartment.
Right. So
And you
my
waited 10
brother,
years
my,
for that.
My brother just was born in '81, and what actually happened is because my mom started working as an electric engineer, and what's it called in English? I can't really translate it in
Don't
English.
worry about
but
it. Let's
but
skip past it.
it's basically the institute and the job she had. It's
Okay.
for government do project for building buildings
Right.
in the city, and she was electric engineer, and she had the opportunity to basically give it up our existing apartment for somebody who lived in the wood in a way less condition, to have the opportunity to have a actually 2-bedroom, 3 rooms apartment in the future, but it wasn't built up
Built
yet.
yet. Right.
So built yet. So we had to wait, I think, 2 years before it will build.
Can you imagine anybody in America waiting 2 years for an apartment?
So in
Seriously.
these 2 years, we stayed in my grandmother's apartment, which had 2 bedrooms. It's 3 rooms with my mom and dad, my brother, me,
Your
my
grandma.
aunt, my grandmother, and my like my aunt's son. So he's my brother.
Your cousin.
My cousin, right? And after when, and biggest thing is like in meantime, I wanted, like, it's how it all started. I really like wanted to start to play hockey, and I have.
So how old were you? You were 7 when you started playing hockey, which is actually kind of a bit late for a hockey player.
It's 7 when it's a professionally, but I started when I was very young. I have a picture when I'm like 3 years old with a stick with the skates, and I was going on the ice rink, which is outside of our apartment building, to skate with my mom
back
and
then
dad.
you just had to stick a hose out
Right,
and freeze.
and after, like, I played with the little kids, and
You said you were 7 when you went professional.
yeah, I call professional because I really went to hockey school, which is the Olympic reserve. So I was already selected from all other kids who played, like
In the backyard on the hockey
in the
rink.
backyard hockey rink. So somewhere like unprofessionally hockey, and
So they looked at all these little kids skating around on a hockey rink. They went, him yes, him no, him yes, him no.
no, we had the like unprofessional team of my
Right.
like apartment building kind of courtyard, and
Right, but every area
after
had
was-
people who watched, and they picked and culled the
Right.
cream of the crop. And then at 7, you were one of the selected few,
and they
you went
selected me to
But-
hockey school with Olympic
But
reserve.
they seem to
right?
do that a lot in Russia. If you were in school and about to graduate to go to university, they would say, you go to university, sorry, you do not. You are going to be electrical engineer. They literally tell you what you're supposed to be good at.
In some case it is, in some case no. It depends. Like if you get a like high education in university, they will send you to some place where they think you should work after to
But
get
they,
an
right, but they
education.
choose for you.
They choose for you, but after when you get education, not kind of before. So you need to get education first, and after they send you to work with your profession somewhere else where they choose you to work.
Could you fight that?
I mean,
Nobody did. Yeah.
you really couldn't. You know.
So at 7, you go off to hockey school. Was it in your local town?
Yeah, it was in my hometown, so I got to hockey school with Olympic Reserve. We had a team, and what they did, they actually, in my school, the class, it was a hockey team. So we had
Okay,
a special.
so everybody who was in the hockey team was in the same
right,
class.
and so we had a special schedule. We go to school before, like in the morning, and
Right,
after
and then you
we
played in the
practice, or
afternoon.
we practice in the morning after we go to
Now,
school. So
you told me something early on in our relationship that was kind of funny to me, that you were little. You were
I was-
tiny for your age, and you
Yes.
never thought you could have a career unless you became great with your hands. Talk about that mindset.
Again, it's like I was dreaming to be a hockey player, and I tried to do everything what's possible, and I was a really hockey fanatic. A lot of people say I didn't really have a lot of talent to be a professional hockey player, but
Because you were little,
you
they
know,
looked at your size, you
I'm
weren't
glad I proved
threatening.
I proved them wrong. So
Yeah.
I did, and I had an amazing career. But again, it's a specific age. Like I was one of the smallest guys in the team, so really to survive, I didn't have a lot of power, so I have to work on my skills a lot to be competitive.
And then you grew 6 inches
Yeah,
one
and
summer.
it's what's happened. I think age 12 or 13, I remember. So I grew like 12 inches, and I feel like a little bit more strong. And every skill I developed all these years, I bring some
More
power.
icing on the cake, yeah. So now
it's
you were
kind of, I
big.
started like become. It's more. It's not really what I started to become better player. I had the opportunity inside of me. I can do it. You know, I got this again because I was kind of had a lot of doubts. Would I able to make it in pro or not?
Well, also, I think a lot of people didn't want you. They didn't want you on the team. You were small. You were never chosen. The coach didn't. And then all of a sudden, you grew, and the coach went, wait a minute, I want you on the team.
Right, it just like you compare yourself to other players, and actually when I grew, um, like I had the opportunity to play in the age 1 year older, because in Russia we always had a team with a particular year born. So my year it was 73 born, and I was able to play for 72 born, which is
Right, a
older
year
team,
older.
and
Well, that
it's
certainly kept
helped
you
me a
on your
lot.
toes, huh?
Yes, you play against bigger and stronger players.
You had a coach who was very instrumental in your career. Who was that?
Yes, it's first of all I want to say thank you to all my coaches, because without them it wouldn't be progression which I had, and in a different stage. But after when I really turned pro, like Vladimir
You
Yurzhinov.
turned pro at 15. I mean, pro in the sense that you were actually paid.
Right, in 15, so I
Right.
was making money at age 15,
Right,
which is
so-
that was 35 rubles a month. So but it was unheard of, like for 15 years old kid.
Making 35
yeah,
rubles
35
is,
rubles. My mom was making 120, 150. So it was kind of nice to have you
right, and Vladimir helped you.
contributed to the family. Yeah.
Well, wait, contributed to
great.
the family. You bought your father his first car, the car he was dreaming of. Talk about that little blue car.
It was later, because when I went to Dynamo Moscow and play, and we started to make a little bit more money, so we had the opportunity to buy the Lada. It was a four-door sedan.
Lada, yeah.
And it was red color, but for some reason,
I thought you told me it was blue.
it was something wrong with the car was all the time, because it stopped, it didn't work properly, and my mom and dad always.
But it looked good in front of the apartment
it
building.
looked good, but it wasn't even a new car, and but it was like I was very proud I could kind of make my dad's
Do this for
dream
your
in
father.
it. Yeah, it was very nice.
Just to give a little bit of perspective of what it was like in Russia at the time, you told me that when you went down to Moscow, you stood in line
For McDonald's,
for McDonald's.
and it was different time.
How many hours did you stand in line?
I think it was hour 15 minutes or 45, but it was a
An
lot
hour
of
and 45 minutes for a hamburger.
Some Russian people sometimes is smart, is sneaky. So a lot of and it was a situation where really like communism was changing for capitalism.
Right.
It was in the age of that, and actually I saw the first people to understand how it works.
Right.
Like
What did they do? Go in
no, it
McDonald's,
was-
buy a whole bunch and sell it
No,
to
it's
people on the line?
What they did, like it was a group of people. They stay in line in like 10 people in a segment,
Groups, right?
and wherever, and they sell you like a position in the line, so you can come and you
I thought maybe they
and you
sold the
buy it. I
hamburger,
never,
but
because
we
we
were
didn't
close,
have
right?
Yeah, we didn't have enough money, so like I stayed in line, and I was
Right,
hour
because
15 minutes.
You
But
didn't want to waste the money on buying your position. So now you're in Moscow, and your mother came down to take care of you. It was a big decision for your family for that to happen, because you also had your brother Dmitry at home. So the family kind of split, your father and Dmitry, and your mother came down to Moscow.
it's not really true. They came all together to visit me more, because what happened was I was in a training camp for Dynamo Moscow, so I was in a facility with the other coming up stars, and most of them played in National Hockey League after, because we had very good talented players like Alex Kovalov, Nikolai Khabibulin, Kasparaitis, Darius. He's my best friend.
I just want to say that Hobby Bulin was a good friend of yours. You guys
Yes,
used
we
to
grew
play
up in-
hockey in the living room.
Yeah, we grew up together in the same town, in the same team, and sometimes
This
in
is
my
Yekaterinburg.
Yes, in my apartment we have a table which looks like a net, and he was in the net, and I was.
It was little enough to be in the net.
Yeah, it was.
Your mother said you broke all the vases and all the glass in the house.
Yeah, it happens, but again.
Well, he grew up to be a great goaltender.
Yeah, and he won Stanley Cup with Tampa Bay Lightning, so it's he did great, and he's a great person, and I saw him a few weeks ago, which was very nice.
So you had these relationships with Hobby Bulin and of course Darius Kasparaitis, who was one of your closest and still is one of your closest friends, and you came up all together in Dynamo Moscow. Now Dynamo Moscow also fought the Red Army for you, so you had the choice to go to either one, and you went to your father for help.
Yeah, I kind of come out. We had the interview with the both teams. My dad did with the GM of Red Army and Dynamo Moscow, and like all my life, I was dreaming to play for Red Army. And when a decision has to be made,
Your father.
we choose Dynamo Moscow, and we choose
Dynamo Moscow.
Yurzino. And one of the kind of interesting
Well,
point
with
was that
Vladimir Yurzinov, that
yes,
was your coach.
it
That
was
who
my coach
a
from
great
Dynamo
yeah,
Moscow.
who had a
and
great
he,
effect on your life.
yes, and after, like basically he said he will teach me how to play hockey, and I would have a great opportunity to make money in the
And
future.
a skill for the rest of
And
your
it's
life.
kind
yeah.
of like stay with us, and we made a decision to trust him and go.
Well, and
go
what
over
he
to
meant
Dynamo.
was, you know, because you already had the talent, you already had the size, he taught you how to read the game, which is a very rare talent that most players that I watch today, they don't read the game. And when you read the game, you're like Gretzky. You can cut off angles, and you can be where the puck is going to be. You know where it's going to be ahead of time. So that was a real gift that he
Yeah,
gave.
but I still think you can develop any like anything can be practiced. Yeah, you have a talent and to certain skills, which has come much easier to you. But some skills maybe not as great. But I think they're all great players. If we talk about professional sport, and not only professional sport, they have an arsenal of instruments,
tools, yeah.
tools, and to choose the right tool in the right particular moment. It's what's
It's a talent in itself.
It's talent itself, but you can actually practice this and develop, and it's what we did with Vladimir, and we kind of stayed together, and I can call his one of my best friends, and probably from this point we stayed together all my hockey career, and every summer we practice to
Well, we'll get to
be
that
ready.
because that blew my mind when you guys were doing that, because I came up in the era of hockey players smoking cigarettes and drinking beer and lifting weights in the room. You know, they were having morning sessions to skate because they were drunk still from the night before. So you guys were a whole new breath of fresh air. You so as a Russian player in the communist system in Dynamo, when it came time to be drafted, you were actually more or less sold to the NHL. Tell me about your experience of being drafted with the NHL.
Again, the time started changing, you know, like, and
Because this is around 91, 92.
yeah, like 91 I came to Dynamo Moscow. I played 2 years, and in 93 I moved to North America. So basically what happened was Dynamo Moscow made a deal with Ottawa Senators.
Paid a lot of money, right? They paid them a lot of money to buy you, basically, buy your rights.
It was some kind of fees for Ottawa to pay to have a rights for me. So again, it's what's part of a business started, like kind of you can see more and more of that.
Right.
And,
It was happening quite a lot, is what you're saying.
Yes, and that was because before under Soviet system, it was the difficulties.
Yeah, you had to defect, actually. You
and,
had a
some
couple
of
of
the
players who defected,
Yeah, some of the players decided.
like Fetisov.
No, Fetisov kind of stayed, and he did with the rules, but Alex McGillney left.
McGillney.
And I think Sergei Fedorov left with some kind of tension between.
Right, and they became big players in the NHL.
Right.
You went second overall, which was quite a shock to everybody in the draft.
And it was kind of shocked to me too, but in the same time, like we didn't really know and understand what's a draft mean. I really understood what it is, like kind of a few years later. Right, because for us we played, and I think I can speak from all of the players from this
period.
This period, I think they will like share my thoughts. Maybe somebody has a different opinion, but I'm sure it's the same. Because we played for the best team. We won 2 championships, Russian championships. So we've been.
You're talking about the national team or
no,
Dynamo?
about Dynamo
Moscow.
Moscow. And so we've been on the top of a game and the best team.
Right.
So we didn't really understand, like wherever team will select us, it's
They're going
like
to be great. It's
yeah,
the NHL.
you go. It's National Hockey League, so you will go and play for a different team, like you played in Dynamo. So the selection of a first, second, third.
Didn't mean
we
anything.
didn't really understand wherever happens. But after when I've been in North America and in Ottawa for a few years. I understand how much attention been paid to draft choices and
Yeah, it's
first
very important.
overall, second overall, and then see like
It determines your salary, basically.
in some case, yes, you know, it's just saying like how good you are.
So you went second overall in the draft, and in actuality, behind the scenes was your manager threw out a dare to the Ottawa Senators. What was
It's
that?
at least it's what Mark Gandler, he is managing. It's what he told me. So
Right,
he
what
basically
was it?
said they wouldn't have enough, blah blah blah.
Enough balls to,
yeah,
to draft a Russian.
draft a Russian guy,
And they had the second overall pick, and they picked you.
right. And,
Were you shocked?
in some case, yes, because we kind of planned for me to go like somewhere like 10s, 12s, in the top 15. It's never been any Russian selected so high before. I think Alex Kovalov was selected 15th with the New York Rangers year before, so it didn't really like a lot of Russian players had this experience to be in the top
Well, was there a
three.
team that you wanted to be picked with? Did you have a
No,
wish list?
I mean, again, it's like
Everybody wants
you,
New
you
York.
don't. No, you don't have a choice, and you don't
I
know.
see your smile. Everybody wants
No.
New York.
No, again, like you just basically you don't know enough information about National Hockey League to make a decision.
Well, you did know enough about cities, and when you came to
actually-
Ottawa and you opened the curtains the next morning, what did you see?
yeah, it's actually was they didn't face downtown was faced,
It faced the prairie.
right, and actually
So
Montreal.
you're in the Canadian prairie.
Montreal was my first city in North America, and it's actually a big city.
Right, because that's where the draft
So
was.
when I came to Ottawa, I was a little bit
You were
surprised.
expecting
but-
Montreal all over again.
But again, I think they, in some cases, hockey-wise, it was great because it was very easy to move around. It's I could have concentrate in hockey a lot. It's not. It
Yeah, there was
wasn't a lot
nothing
of
else to do.
a lot of distractions, and my family, as you know, they came with me, so we
Right, that
kind
was a
of
big
build
decision.
we
Your
build a
entire
support.
family gave up everything they were doing. Your brother playing hockey in Russia. Your mom was an electrical engineer. Your father's a hydroelectric engineer and a feared professor in the university. And they gave up everything to follow you to North America. What was it like when your mom first arrived here and she walked into a supermarket?
No, again, yeah. So like it was difficult time, and but we made the decision all together because I didn't really know where I'm going. Yeah, I was offered way better money than I was making in Russia, and sometime I understood kind of, and I saw. I didn't know because I don't know what's the life in North America, but I think. We kind of figure out, and especially with my agent, with Mark, he said like on the salary which you're going to make in Ottawa, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, which was like $1 million at
it's
that point.
Yeah, it's about $800,000. I was about $400,000 tax free, and year before I made $10,000 in Moscow. So
Right, I remember you saying to me, I thought if I made $1 million, I could live the rest of my life like a
right,
king.
that's what Mark told me, and
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that was a little bit, like was like $99 million short.
Yeah, I
I remember you telling me your mom walked into a supermarket and she burst into tears because
No,
there was
and-
so much to choose from, yet when she got it home, it
right,
had absolutely no flavor.
It was different time in Russian life, and so when she saw, but after some time, because it's a lot of things to choose from.
Yeah,
But
you had a lot of choice.
but from your taste, it's what you like. You still like several products.
Yes, yeah,
So
you still like the
it's-
same things.
Yeah, so basically she had the opportunity to have
Choose
this,
from all these things, and she still goes for the Havlat cheese.
right. So
Yeah. So here you are in Ottawa. You open up the windows, and all you see is prairie. You're a little bit shocked, but I have to say that you really lived up to being the #2 draft choice. You should have been Rookie of the Year.
I mean, again, it's a lot of people have a different
All right, then
opinion
I'm going
about
to tell
that,
the
but-
story. Basically, what happened, which came back to haunt you later, is you were actually chosen in the draft, and then you had to go back to Russia to finish your army, a year in the army. So later in your career, a lot of your fans were like, well, he sat out a year in the very beginning of his career, so here you're drafted, and then you have to go back home and give a year to the Russian army so that you can remain a Russian and keep your Russian passport so you can play in the Russian Olympics as a Russian. I mean, play in the Olympics as the Russian. So you go back, you miss your first rookie year, and you come back into your now new rookie year after you finish your obligation, and you're playing with Alexander Daigle, who went off as number 1 in the draft choice and was basically the new Gretzky in their mind. And yet, I'm going to say it so you don't have to. You outplayed him, and it ultimately ended up that all the writers chose you as Rookie of the Year, and you went home with nothing because the team really didn't want to have to deal with a Russian star who was going to make money, even though you were the highest scoring rookie. Talk about this, because it's been a theme throughout your career, and I'm not going to let you off the hook of talking about this because
right,
the
and
only
I
one
will
who
explain.
push you.
And it's again, it's.
I'll sit back and take my tea. Go ahead.
So it was different approach of that, and but biggest thing, it's like Marty Brodeur won a Rookie of the Year, and he deserved it because I think.
I'm not talking about that, but you should have at least been put up for it, and you weren't.
I'm just saying is like it's really was several players who really been fighting for Rookie of the Year. It was Marty Brodeur, me, Jason Arnott, and
yeah, but
Michael
all the writers
Renberg
had
from,
you, and you
know,
weren't even nominated.
Again, it is what it is, and you know, we had this story about like all the tough situation with Ottawa, which is resolved in the future with some like a lot of
well, let's talk
scandals,
about that. So
again,
you were hired with Ottawa Senators, and they said to you, "We don't have any money," and they give you what, $300,000 a year?
No, what happened is like I know you're putting me on a bad spot because everybody.
No, I just want the truth, because nobody knows the truth, and I think it's really important that you're redeemed.
The really truth is like I can explain my opinion.
Go ahead.
But it doesn't mean it's a truth because other people can see the truth from us.
Okay, you've covered yourself. Now tell the story.
Okay, so the thing is like when we talked to Ottawa, we said like basically I wouldn't know how we'll play. If I will play well, why would I stuck with a 5-year deal? Because it's what Ottawa Senators want, a 5-year deal to keep me in Ottawa. So they said like let's figure out how we what we're going to do, like you know, if we're really going to be very good, so we'll deal with
renegotiate. Okay.
Right. So and again, and it's not written; it's what they told me.
Right. Which is being translated through translators.
Wherever, but it's what you know. After they said they never said that, I said they did, and it's what they become. And in some cases,
he
like
said, she said.
It's, like in the future, I understood like if you want to get something in writing. Right.
Write it. The bottom line.
You know, like I was from a different era, from a different country, so I didn't really understood. And I can say it's been like 25 years since that. Like in some cases, I might make a mistake because
we've
I
talked
wouldn't
about this
understand
because you've
right. So it's really like what I'm saying is like different people would have a different opinion, and me, and it just basically sometimes you want to be paid as the market price.
Right, and the next year comes in, you know, Alexander Daigle, he got $1 million a year, and it became an issue. So ultimately, at one point, there was a walkout in the league, and you went down to Vegas. They paid you more money. You looked out the window. There was a city, and there were a lot of Russians in that city with Cirque du Soleil, so you had a good time.
They didn't pay me more money, but I was covered.
They paid you $500,000 a year.
It's actually.
A season.
I mean.
I'm not going to argue with it.
Okay, we don't argue because it seems like Vegas cannot pay more than Ottawa. What happened was they give me some money to play when a lot of other players in National Hockey League sitting out. They didn't make any money of that.
What were they in the what was that, the WHL?
No, it was International Hockey League.
Okay.
And I had the opportunity when I signed with them, so I had.
You didn't want to go back to Ottawa, as the bottom line is. They came for you, and you were like.
We had we had some issues with that because it's what I said.
Did you have to go back to Ottawa? Could you have stayed with the IHL, or was that just a lesser opportunity?
No, it's actually what I'm going to say something right now, right? Like you have a contract or you don't have a contract. Nobody really can force you to play.
Well,
you know, they cannot really put you on the
you
ice.
learned that the hard way, that's
Right.
not true.
So no, it is true. It was my decision.
Well, you could quit, but if you've got a contract with someone, you have to play it out. So that was the lesson you actually ended up learning after all of this.
Right. We had one of the arbitration later, where the arbitrator said basically you cannot play hockey ever again until you serve this extra year for Ottawa Senators. So
all right, so let's just
played.
make this a little bit more simple. You came in, you had to sit out a year because you had to go back and you had to.
No, I didn't sit out a year. It was a deal between Ottawa and.
Right, you had to go. You had to sit out a year in the NHL because you had to go back and do your Army. So that's how it worked out. To the fans, you weren't playing, but you were back in Russia doing your obligation. You come back, you play. You're a prodigy. You should have been named Rookie of the Year. You weren't, but there's a walkout. And you end up in Vegas where you're enjoying yourself. They come down to get you. You really don't want to go back to Ottawa, but you have to, and you do. You get back to Ottawa. Again, it became a he said, she said.
It's not really true, you know. Like, you're supposed to know way more stuff about it.
I only know what you told me.
No, what happened was, because it all comes, like, we told you.
Right, it becomes
blah,
a he
blah.
said, she said. You get back
Yes,
to Ottawa, and it becomes this wrangle.
We made the decision to sign some kind of agreement in a training camp with Ottawa Senators. So it was saying about, like, if I make certain amount of points and like basically if I'm going to have
get a bonus.
enough production, they will start negotiate with me new deal. And what happened was, like, I came by 1 point short, which
they sat you out, so you couldn't make the point.
Really
it became like politics.
Yeah, they say it's like, listen, you didn't reach your limit,
goals.
so we don't have to deal with you. And it's kind of where it all went sour.
There was a lot of bad blood there, but still, ultimately, you came back. You defected back to Russia, because I happen to know there's a Yashin rule in international sports law, because you went back to Russia, and when they realized that you could play for 2 weeks in Russia with your old team, and if you're fired, you're a free agent to come back to the NHL.
It was a lot of things, you know, like different lawyers.
Well, that was very clever on your part, because you could have been
lawyers
freed.
Look at the
Nobody else could use this
collective bargaining,
except Europeans.
Yeah, collective bargaining agreements. And now what I can really say, you know, because of some of my actions, a lot of CBA been kind of changed, and certainly a lot of gray areas become black and white. And I don't think
that's your contribution, man.
Right, and I don't think it's really fair to say after when the arbitrator make a decision in black and white, years later or like few months later, to actually it's supposed to be like that. Nobody knew it. It's arbitrator decision. So now you live by the.
You live by the decision, absolutely.
Yeah, you live by a decision.
And both sides did.
It's a gray, black or white.
Right. So then
but when it was gray, you know, you make a decision on the basis if it's gray. So.
Okay. So, but then you had after this, you had a great collaboration with Ottawa. You played very well for them. You were the star player in that moment up in Ottawa, and then you meet somebody at the NHL Awards.
Yeah, I was nominated.
You were up for your Hart Trophy.
Yeah, I was nominated for Hart Trophy, and I kind of knew because I was up against Jagr and
Gretzky for his last year, right?
No, Gretzky wasn't playing, and Jagr and Hasek. So it's like my chances been kind of, you know, like not great. So I came.
You just went to party.
Yeah, I came with my dad, and we had a good time, and we met a lot of legends and everybody.
But one particular
Messier
legend.
And the Gretzky, and you know, and it's how we met with you, you know.
Right. You left with your Hart Trophy. Right.
Yeah.
So we meet at this thing, and I find out that you are this great prodigy. But then you go off. I'm shooting a series in Toronto, and you go off to Switzerland because you again get into a little bit of a wrestle with the team. What happened?
It's basically what happened is it's about free agency, and nowadays nobody really understands what it is, because the free agency it's 27 years old and you can become unrestricted free agent.
But back then, what was the age?
It was 32.
Yeah.
So basically, you stay with one particular team, and for some reason, if you have difficulties to deal with you're going to have a difficulties until you're 32.
32.
And so basically, I had 1 year left on my contract, and we decided kind of to see if Ottawa really want me to stay longer
Right,
in
you
all my
wanted an
career.
extension. You wanted to take care of your family and
it's
protect
again
them and make sure,
because
right?
of everything was,
Well, don't forget,
happened
because
before, like it's went kind of not as great as
well,
we
but also
thought.
on the last year of a contract, if you get injured, you're kind of out for the following year.
But
So
again, it's not only a situation with me; it's with
everybody,
every
of
other
course. Yeah, of
hockey
course.
player, and it's
no, but this is what
rules,
you were thinking in the moment. And
yeah,
I'm
and we
understanding that.
saw that, and
So you
it's
you,
again things went sour, and it's kind of ended up
and
with.
so
So I missed
petulant
the year.
you runs off to Switzerland thinking
Right.
that, and it was kind of a unique idea. You thought exclusivity. If I don't play for them, but I don't play for anybody else, I was still exclusive to them. And the NHL came in and did an arbitration where they said, no, you have to play for the team.
Right,
And in essence, that's the correct definition of exclusivity in the United States.
Arbitrator
but,
made a decision, and
but you were clever. That was a clever
I
twist
mean,
on things.
again, see, like clever. It's not like I have
Well,
a regrets.
you didn't benefit
No, I don't,
by it.
I
You
don't
sat
have
out a
regrets
year.
what I did it, but it's not like it's a great situation for both. So I don't
you,
think
both
it
of you,
wasn't
absolutely.
great for me. It wasn't great for Ottawa Senators, and it's all kind of.
But
game
again,
like,
I have to give you credit and the team credit because you came back and you had a collaboration again for another year, and you were willing to stay in Ottawa and sign another deal in Ottawa, and that's where your home was, and that's where you wanted to be. And you had 40 goals for them. I think everybody expected you to step on the ice. And in fact, I was there for the first game back, and you were booed every time you touched the puck, yet you still scored 40 goals that year, which was an amazing amount. And you went back to Ottawa and said, okay, I'm ready to negotiate again. And at that point, they traded you or gave you the option to be traded to
again, the
Islanders.
team made a decision, and I remember we thought with the GM, and he said, like, do you want to stay in Ottawa? I said, like, I have no problem with Ottawa as their fans and the city.
No, Ottawa was
and,
great to you.
Yeah,
The team was great. The town was great.
But,
We kept a home there for a very long time.
Again, they made a decision to trade me to New York Islanders, and
Well, and that was an unprecedented deal. So let's go into
right to do that.
right, and let's go into an unprecedented deal. I think it was the first ever 10-year contract. I remember sitting in your living room and creating the insurance policy to cover a player for 10 years because nobody else had ever done that, and we had to create that insurance policy.
Man, it's all like I've been working with my agent and Charles Wang. He was and Mark Milbury. We tried to figure out how to really extend the insurance for players because I think the insurance could cover only up to 5 years.
Right, and on top of that, you had to make outs for the Olympics, which you played in 3 Olympics. Tell us which Olympics?
It's Olympics 98, 2002, and 2006.
So you have a bronze, a silver, and a bust.
And yes, and like.
Well, I was happy to be able to spend 2 of those Olympics with you. So you are contacted by Charles Wang, and you guys are discussing what you think you might want to get to play with the Islanders, and Charles comes up with a brilliant idea, which was fantastic, and that was a 10-year contract. How did you feel when he asked you if you wanted to come and join the Islanders and have a 10-year contract? Because basically that would have taken you through to the end of your career.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great feeling. The Islanders, especially Charles, he trusted me so much like that, so I would really deliver what he wanted, and it's felt great. But at the same time, it was
Great
a big
responsibility.
responsibility to live up to this expectation.
And I remember when you came in, you said, he wants 10 years. It was unheard of at the time. I remember sitting around your living room and having to create a 10-year insurance policy because at that point, the most a player had played was what, 5 years?
Yeah, I think how they remember.
Not how they played, they had a contract
only,
for 5 years.
Yeah, you can, basically you can have a contract as long as you can, but in the same time, the insurance for it's only can cover 5 years. So basically, even if you sign in more years, if you get hurt or you can't play anymore, you can protect this part of
Of the
a
contract.
deal, right? So we kind of have to figure out what to do, make sure it's all covered.
Well, and now every other player in the league who gets a long-term contract uses the same template that you created for your insurance.
Yeah, and now it's I
It's-
think the players sign it 10 years is like normal. So.
Yeah, but it's your template for the insurance. So you literally leave Ottawa, come to the United States, and tell me. I mean, I remember packing the car and driving from
we drove from
Canada to New York, and you found a beautiful home, and you. I think you really enjoyed playing for the Islanders. You had an incredible first year. Talk about that.
I think what happened is like we've basically been on the bottom of the league. You know, it's Islanders been in the last place for a couple of years, and they've really been ready for something
To happen.
something to happen, and especially with the Islanders' history when they won 4 Stanley Cup in a row with all the great players as like Brian Trottier, Bassi, Gillis,
The
Billy
legends.
Smith, so all the legends, you know, Dennis Potvin, all those guys, and I mean, so Islanders fans really wanted to see something like that again.
And I remember you guys went into the playoffs the first year that you played. So I remember you saying you really wanted to come to a team that you didn't want to go to a team that was necessarily a Stanley Cup contender right off the bat. You wanted to come to a team that you could help build and help into the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I also remember when you bought your home, and this is why I thought you would be a great addition to this show, and that is because you've got an incredible eye for decoration, for design.
Wow, it sounds so bad. The hockey player has the eye for decoration. It's like it doesn't sound very
Listen,
good.
you also like show tunes,
but,
so if I didn't know any better, I
yes.
would think, you know, but you know,
Okay, I
you
have to deal with that,
yeah,
so.
yeah, you have to deal with that. But you even dressed me. You picked all my clothes, all the time.
Again, it's what I have certain style and a certain like I guess I do like certain things, and with decoration, with the houses, with the clothes, with so it's not that I really like dressed you, or you know, I just explained my opinion what I think it would look great on you. And
Well, no, you wouldn't buy me anything unless you liked how it looked, unless you picked it out, or unless it was something that fit in with the style how you saw me. And that's one of the things, is that you have a particular eye and a particular style. You designed your home on Long Island. Talk about designing your home.
Again, we had some space. We have to fill it up with some furniture, with some.
Baloney, you guys were reading the magazines in Russia. Your mother said, I always dreamed to have a house like this.
Yeah, it's what happened was basically like all family moved from Canada to New York.
Yeah, they followed you wherever you went. In fact, the Ottawa Senators told you had to get a separate home from your parents because they were always there. So now coming down from Ottawa,
I mean, they've always been big hockey fans. They like to.
Well, of course, they
go,
followed
like,
you to every
they
arena.
lost a job because they didn't really. My dad worked a little bit as in the university, as in Carleton University, and in Ottawa. But basically, most of it they take care of your house or take care of my life, and it's helped me a lot.
Actually, your father was fired because you had a little bit of a discrepancy with the National Arts Center.
It's a speculation again, but nobody knows what really happens, and you know. But for him,
But you ended up donating $200,000 to the National Arts Center when
oh,
all was said
are we
and done.
talking about this too?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
Okay.
You made a $1 million contract with the National Arts Center.
Yeah, you know, it's like I'm sure some people would have a sort of like perspective on me because
Perception of you.
perception of me because not always like all these contracts work out the way it's supposed to work out, you know. But what happened with Ottawa National Arts Center, because we touched this side, it's basically my money I donated. I want to make sure Ottawa will grow as a big cultural city, and I know it was some
You were investing
problems.
in Ottawa.
Yeah, some problems with that because a lot of big stars would go to Montreal or Toronto, and not always come
They'd
to
skip
Ottawa.
over Ottawa.
And I had this vision, like kind of work together make sure maybe it would be a step forward. And
Right, you wanted
it's-
fashion shows to come there, and you wanted musicians and theater, and you were willing to donate to help that happen.
Right, and
And
too bad
ultimately, it didn't work out.
it
But
didn't work
you
out
were really
again,
made
and,
to be the villain.
But
And in the end, you still gave $200,000 as a gift to the National Arts Center. So that's how much you love art.
and legal fees too.
And
if
legal
you can.
fees. Well, let's not even go into the legal fees.
Okay.
I remember the fans suing you for loss of entertainment. I mean, it was
Yeah,
a
it was,
very difficult
was-
time. When we first
was
met, it was
difficult
very, very
time.
stressful.
In some cases, it's interesting because I was young and I had some kind of view of my life or what's going on around. And like as a young player, like young human being or young player, you always, kind of stand up against all this stuff against you. And I was kind of testing myself too, would I able to do it or not? And a lot of that, I would say, like years by, it's been a lot of like more emotional involvement with all of that instead of just, but
You
when
mean
I
you
was young,
emotionally invested in everything you
yeah,
were doing?
but again, in the same time, it was just simply business, and we understood business part or contracts part as a different way. And yes, it's been part of it because I was living in Soviet Union, and I understand the business sort of way, which is not probably was familiar like North American people would do that, and it was a conflict of interests of mine.
So everything that you happened to do colored also how I saw myself as a person, because I grew up as a model, I wore everything. But you were specific. You literally put your foot down about what I was allowed to wear and things you held
It's
up.
not true. I always give you like opportunity.
Yeah,
to
gave you the
choose.
option.
Of
If
course.
you don't wear it, if you don't like it, I'm not. If you don't take this, I'm not buying you anything. So yeah,
No.
all right. But so talk about your home. As you're basically, your style is in your home in Long Island is very Versace. It's very unique. It's almost museum-like.
I mean, it's always different levels of museum and stuff like that. But yeah, I like classical stuff and in the furniture and then rugs and in the house. So it's like French chateau. And
You picked
I mean,
every rug.
again, it's because why not? I had the opportunity to do it, and it's always what I think. It's everybody chooses for himself. Or, like you go and live in this environment, so you choose what pleases your eye.
You tore out beautiful wooden steps and put in marble staircases. You did things in that house. You covered over murals. I'm thinking these are so beautiful, and then you covered them over. I'm like, well, that looks really good too. Like you just have this way to cut through the clutter and get through to right to the heart of what looks beautiful and simple and elegant. Where do you think that came from?
I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of talent I developed over years because I do like historical stuff, and especially sometimes when I had the opportunity, I traveled to different cities, and me and you would travel to Italy a lot, so we saw all these places, and Rome and Florence and
Well, growing up, didn't
Milan,
you see a
so-
lot of French movies and?
yeah, it was some little bit of influence, French and Italian, and
That was all that was allowed in communist Russia. You weren't allowed to have the American movies.
I mean, it's not true. We saw the Rockies was like.
Oh, okay.
So it was,
The one with Dolph Lundgren as the Russian?
Yeah, and I mean, one of my favorite movies is still Spies Like Us. It's very, very funny. At the end, it's what I think it's great when basically two big countries and the superpowers is United States and used to be Soviet Union. Now it's Russia. Eventually they got together and been very friendly.
When you played in the Olympics, I know that was a big thing for you because as a child you saw the balloons rising
Yes,
from
it was 1980 Olympics.
1980 Olympics.
When the Olympic bear like flew with.
What was the
little-
bear called? It's got a very cute name.
Yeah. No, it's called Mishka, Олимпийский Mishka. So it's Olympic bear, and and it is. And but
Wait. What's the name of the little bear you've given me from the Olympics?
no, it's a Cheburashka.
Cheburashka.
It's a different. It's
Okay.
actually a cartoon
Oh,
character.
okay.
So,
All right. So
but
it was Olympijski.
Mishka.
Mishka.
It's a bear, so it was a big symbol.
But you
of
were
it.
also called the Russian bear as you were playing.
Right, when I was much heavier and bigger muscle. But so in 1980, and we had a great influence on all athletes, and
It was very emotional.
very emotional, and it's
Very
a
big.
big
It was
deal.
prideful.
And yeah, you have a lot of pride to play for your country in the national competition as the Olympics and World Championships, and I had the opportunity to do it. You not always win, but again,
You're there.
participation
Yeah,
is important.
it's the memory of all that. So, where do you see yourself going in the future? If you could say Alexei Yashin wants to do this and you could go and do anything you wanted to do, where would your interests take you?
It's a great question in some case, because it's great to see you in the future, but in the same time you kind of live today and you see the opportunity. And I do a little bit of a charity work, so I create
Right, with children.
yeah, it's not only with children, it's like basically with anybody who wants to learn how to play hockey with me. So I do this.
So where do you do
clinics
this?
right on the Red Square in Moscow in the winter.
Oh, it must be beautiful, the ice on the Red Square.
So basically, you don't really have to have a special feeling about hockey. You know, it's
Just come out
anybody
and
who
skate.
can come. Yeah, come and
Do you
skate.
give them equipment? How do you take care of them?
We do
don't you?
like a shirt and a hockey stick, and I do some drills. So it's
And come
comes
skate
like
with Alexei Yashin?
yes, it's and basically it's some hockey players come, little ones, and women and men, and like basically different ages and everything.
Do your friends come and help you?
Yeah, my brother helps me, and
I mean, do you have any other of your player friends come when they're in Moscow?
some of them, yes, and not only hockey players and big stars from other sports, or from even fashion or politics, and a lot of very well-known people came and stopped by, and it was great, because what happened is this idea, it's not about like really, because you can't really learn anything in an hour. The thing is, you can create something like that in a little place where you live, in a different city.
Of course, you can create good community feeling.
I was hoping it will grow like that.
Yeah. You skate with some very high ups in the Russian government.
And sometimes, yes, I do. You know, like, and
And you
everybody's saying like I didn't play with Putin hockey, but I met him in the Olympics when I was part of a women's hockey team, and he.
What happened to your goalie? This was something you were not prepared for in the women's team. So you took the women's team. You were general manager of the women's national team.
Our goalie got pregnant.
And your goalie got
right
pregnant
before the Olympics.
So now you're right back to like your mother in the national team. I
you
mean,
know,
but
it's how I understood. It's sometimes life is a little bit
Unexpected.
bigger than actually sport or your profession. It's what you play. So it takes, and in some case, yeah, everybody been kind of disappointed, because she was the best goalie
best
in the
goalie
world,
you had.
like year before, when we got a bronze medal in Ottawa in the World Championship. But in the same time, you know, like I understand the life has to move on, and the girls or guys or wherever professional athletes, they're human being too, and they have to live their lives. And
well, but I know that it was very
sometimes
important
take
for you to
different-
be.
different curves.
I know it was very important for you to be at the Olympics in Sochi.
I mean, it was great opportunity for our country to really show like what we can do, especially like infrastructure-wise. And it's a beautiful arenas. It's for different sports, and it's like sometimes when I'm in Russia now, I go like visit, and I do some clinics, and they create some big hockey school and figure skating school there in the facility. So it's unbelievable.
I have to tell you, I always had this vision of you probably doing something in design or fashion, either home architecture or
So let's do
interior
fashion
design.
line. Do
I know you've been
something.
after me for years to do
I
that.
mean, the thing is, like,
You've heard it here first on Carol's Living Room. We're going to start a
Right.
new fashion line.
no, the thing is, it's basically probably because it's what you said, and it's how I feel, and you probably we have the eye for what's looks good to us.
Yeah,
So
but
we
I
can
think what
do
looks
and we
good
have
to you looks
influence,
good.
but to really know what's the business side of that is going to be, because basically besides hockey, I didn't have any other businesses, and it's
Well, you
very
tore-
difficult to be part of it, something which you don't really understand.
Yeah, well, I know that
Business-wise, I mean.
every apartment you've ever gone into, you've torn it apart, and Russia was no exception.
Right. Yes, but again, it's what you kind of make it to please your eyes. So it's like when you.
Well, I hope you give us some
you-
pictures of everything.
Yeah, you're like very comfortable into
Well, I look forward to knowing what you're going to be doing in the future.
it. Okay,
Children? Maybe one day?
someday maybe we'll see.
You've heard it first on Carol's Living Room. Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you next time.